this is obviously a podcast about VO2 testing, right? How does VO2 testing play into periodization? So getting a good RMR value and a good VO2 value, and VCO2. So looking at fats and carbs and all of the things, um, for this period of life or this period that I'm training for is really, really helpful to redo those tests periodically, so that you can reset where your numbers are, or for specific activities. If I'm going to be training for a different activity, my heart rate zones for cross country skiing, for example, are going to be different than my heart rate zones for running, because I use different muscles and muscle groups, and the stresses of that activity are different. My heart rate zones will actually be quite different. So even with a triathlete, their heart rate zones on the bike are going to be very different from the heart rate zones of running, because they are using very different muscle groups and they may be more conditioned for one activity than the other and things like that. And so getting testing done that matches what this period of your training is going to be focused on and emphasizing, to redo those tests so that you can get updated numbers for this period is really important. And so that may mean that you're getting tested, 2, 3, 4 times a year or more, depending on how aggressive you are at pursuing that goal and things like that. So just to assume that your heart rate zone numbers are going to be about the same from year to year isn't necessarily true. They can shift with those different training cycles, as we improve in our fitness or as we've detrained a certain area of our fitness. So if I'm running less over the wintertime, and I may be doing other cardiovascular activities, but if I'm doing the actual task of running less because I'm maybe out on the snow more, um, my ability to handle the impacts and load of running is going to shift a little bit. And so my heart rate zones are going to shift a little bit. It'll likely drop down a little bit where that zone 2 is, um, because handling the impact and the repeated impact of running puts additional stress on my body that I've got to re kind of adapt to. And so those zones will shift for a little bit and they'll pick back up, and you may get to where you were the season before. But the likelihood is if you haven't been doing that task as much, as much volume or whatever, then your zones probably have shifted and it's a good idea to retest.